I mean, how were you made aware of the near miss with one of your clients?
I received a phone call in the middle of the night. It was about 2 o'clock in the morning when I received a phone call from On Call.
Okay. And what was your initial reaction, and how did you feel?
I had a couple initial reactions. First of all, I was scared. I was nervous. I didn't know what was going to happen to the child, and I was upset because I thought, how could something like this happen?
Right, right. And who in your office did you share this information with?
I actually spoke to everybody in the office when I got in that morning.
Okay.
Try that one again.
So who in your office did you share that information with?
I shared it with everybody in the office when I got in that morning.
Okay. And what steps did you take to try to learn more about what happened?
I interviewed the nurse. I spoke to her first thing that morning. I also let a little bit of time pass that morning, but I also spoke to the parents to kind of find out what happened.
Okay. And what were your worries and fears about following up with the client's family?
I was scared. I wasn't sure how they were gonna receive me because, after all, their child almost died.
Right. Right. It had to be a difficult call to make. So how did it actually go?
I wanted to hold off on it as long as possible. A couple times I did pick up the phone in my hand and I put it back down because I just needed some time. And then I was like, "This is crazy. You have to do it. So just do it." So I picked up the phone. I called. I was so relieved when I got their voicemail, and then I gave them a message to call me back, and they did.
Okay. And when you talked to them, how did that go?
My heart sank, but it went as well as could be expected. I mean, obviously the situation was serious, and the parents were very cordial, and they answered my questions as well as gave me the additional information that I needed.
Good. And what did you promise the family?
Well, I didn't really promise the family anything at the moment. I promised that I would look into the situation.
Okay.
I told them that I would follow up with the nurse so that I could get all of my information. And I said as soon as I had a decision on things that I would let them know.
Okay. And did you have an opportunity to talk to the employee involved?
I did, yes. I spoke to her. She was actually waiting at the office that morning. Made it very easy for me. She was very upset, but I did get to speak with her.
Okay. And why did you think speaking to her was so important?
I needed to get her side of the story too and find out from her what happened and not just from the parents.
Okay. And how did you approach that discussion?
I kind of approached it, first of all, with a lot of open-ended questions. Can you tell me what happened that night? Can you tell me how you reacted? Just tried to keep it open-ended so that she would give me as much information as I needed.
Okay. And how did you support the employee following that incident?
Lots of phone calls. Had her come into the office a lot of times. We also had her see the employee, I'm not sure what the name of it is, where they can go for counseling through Beata. And then she also sought outside counseling.
Okay. And you think that made a difference for her?
It did. She did leave the nursing profession, but I do think that she was able to sort through some of her feelings at that time.
Okay. And you just answered what happened to the employee, so I appreciate that. What additional follow-up did you do with the family?
I kept in close contact with them throughout the entire hospitalization. When the child came home from the hospital, I was out there to meet them that very first shift that she was back home, and just kind of kept in contact with the family as much as I could.
Yeah, it feels like that was the right thing for you.
Yes.
Yeah. And did anything change in your practice as a clinician, clinical leader, as a result of the incident?
I think so. First of all, I don't want anybody else to have to go through that situation and feel like they're alone. When you have a situation like that, you can feel awfully alone out there. I also want people to know that it's okay to be scared, to be angry, to be not knowing which way to turn.
Right. And we heard from David that because of you, in your office's management of the incident. The family stayed with Beata through Natalie's natural discharge. And more often than clients, they leave us, when something like this happened. How did that make you feel learning that?
Well, I felt very honored hearing that. Actually, the first time I heard the reason they stayed was just a couple weeks ago. So it really made me feel honored that you don't realize what kind of impact you're going to have on people. And I never in my wildest dreams thought that that was the reason why they had stayed.
Wow. And can you share with your fellow leaders some of the best practices or lessons you've learned?
Be open and honest with the family, with the employee, with your field staff, other field staff, as well as your office staff. Don't be afraid to reach out and ask for help, and don't be afraid to follow your gut.
Thank you. And I'm not sure if I got these out of order, so I'm going to ask us to pause for a second. So I think I got all of them. Is that everything?
I went down the list.
All right, good. I'm going to thank her, but I thought I
I
went
don't have
quick.
a list, so I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Can I just ask Amy, one of the things that hit Lori and I think clinical leaders will really connect to it, was the fact that you had to work through your own emotions of being angry and deeply disappointed in
Okay.
this clinician's practice and her failure to respond appropriately. I would love for that to come out
Okay.
a little more, because I think they're gonna connect to that.
Okay. All right.
So you've talked a lot about the impact of the family and to the field employee. So how has this incident impacted you personally and professionally?
Well, there was a lot of feelings that I had to work through. First of all, I was very angry and upset with the employee for her failure to react in this situation. Then I realized, after talking to the employee, how she froze, and she was really scared when this happened. So there, my anger changed to being, more empathy and kind of feeling a sense of that I forgave what she had, her lack of responding in the situation. And I think you have to work through your own feelings in order to move on in a situation like that.
And how have you been able to kind of work through your feelings and get support that you needed?
Well, you have to kind of take a step back, look in at yourself. One of the hardest things in an incident like that is you're not there, so you're not sure exactly what happened at that moment in time.
Right.
So you have to kind of sort through everything the information that you're being told from the parent, from the nurse, and then you have to form your own opinion and your own emotions of what had happened. It was really easy in this situation because the parents were so easy to work with,
Right.
and they also recognized the fact that the nurse had frozen in their home at the time of the incident.
Okay. So is there anything else you want to share with the rest of the clinical leaders out there before we wrap it up?
Try not to be afraid if something like this happens, and just do what you got to do.
Okay.
Make your phone calls, keep in contact with the parents, and it's okay. It's okay to cry.
Thank you. Well, I appreciate you coming in and talking about such a serious incident. It's really going to help out your fellow clinicians and clinical leaders. So thank you for your time today.
Well, thank you.
All right. So Amy, how did you support the employee after the incident?
She came into the office that morning. I had multiple phone calls with her. I could tell by the multiple phone calls that she was not dealing with this very well. She had sought some counseling through Beata's crisis, through legal services, and then she also sought some outside counseling.
Okay, thank you. So how were you able to support the employee after this incident?
She came into the office and we spoke. We also had numerous phone calls. Through those phone calls, you could tell that she still wasn't dealing with the incident very well. So we did offer her some crisis care through the Beata Legal Services, as well as she sought some outside counseling.
Okay. You think that made a difference for her?
Yes, I do, in the fact that she seemed a little bit better in her emotional state, but she did choose to leave nursing.